Greetings and salutations, Dopey Nation. I wanna take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I ever had. And I wanna take a ride up in the sky and watch this aeroplane just pass me by. And I wanna see a Learjet liner take a dive just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's high noon where I stand.
Hi. Sorry about that. Hi. Fucking hell. Oh gosh. You know what? I wasn't nervous until literally that moment when it unmuted, and now I'm like, fuck, what was I going to share about? What was I going to talk about? You know what it is? At the start of the meeting, everyone was like talking, and it felt like a proper Dopey Zoom, and I was just feeling like, I love listening to you guys just talk amongst yourselves. It's like my happy place. But yeah, I'll talk more about that in a little bit, in about an hour's time. We'll get to it eventually. My story, right? Fuck. I'm Ish, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know me. And yeah. So I'm just gonna roll with it now. I'm gonna pretend you guys aren't there and just to see what happens. Okay. So I was born in England, in case you guys couldn't tell from the accent. I was born like a little ways away from where I live now in Birmingham. And big family, right? So I have 3 other siblings, and like I never used to think that my childhood was that bad. It was quite a loving, caring family that I was in. You know, I never experienced like big traumas. Like I never went through anything that would be considered like really bad, like physical abuse, like mental, emotional abuse. I never lost any parents. I never experienced anything that would be traditionally considered trauma. But I know that I definitely experienced it. Even if I can't remember it, I know I experienced it because just the belief system that I grew up with was like very negative. Like my beliefs about myself, I say this all the time, so sorry if you've heard it for like a minute time, but like my beliefs about myself, my beliefs about the world were just very negative. And like I became aware of a lot of those, I didn't become aware of the beliefs, but the feelings that came about as a result of those beliefs, I became aware of those from like the age of like 7. But yeah, so I'll just tell you the story. So like up until the age of like 7, I don't really remember much. We lived in Leicester. It was really nice. I think I was happy. But I was like a bit of a dreamer, and I used to go into my sort of imagination a lot. And when I was about 7, we moved from Leicester to Birmingham. And I think that's when shit got a little bit like scary, and I was just out of my element. We moved to like a different place. We weren't living in a house or anything. We were living in like a room. My sort of family had split. So me, my mum, my brother and my sister had moved to Birmingham, and my older sister and my dad stayed in Leicester. And we lived in like this shitty flat room thing. I don't know what you'd call it, in like a really scary area in Birmingham. And I just felt like lost and scared. And I moved to a new school and I didn't know anyone. I didn't understand why we had moved in the first place. I just didn't get it. And I just remember crying a lot. Like I cried on my first day of my new school. I was crying a lot in the flat room that we lived in. And I missed my dad, you know. And yeah, like I managed to fit in. I managed to make friends. And sort of just as I got settled, I moved to another school. And you know what? So one of my ways of coping with sort of my feelings in childhood was like sleeping. I used to sleep a lot, a lot. I still do now, actually. And my other way of coping with it was like imagining things. I can't even think of the word right now, but I used to I used to imagine that I'd wake up and I'd have superpowers, right? I'd be like a superhero. And then because of my superhero powers, like everyone would love me, obviously, because I'd be like going around saving everyone and everyone would think I was amazing. And then I'd have lots of friends and everyone would like me. And that's what would make me happy. Like if everyone liked me. Like, I was just looking for love, I guess. But so when I got to about the age of like 7, 8, I just remember being in Birmingham in school and looking around and just thinking, this is all like all over the place. But I just remember thinking that I was different, and I looked different because I had like slightly browner skin, and so I'm from an Indian family, by the way. So, and my hair was in a top knot. I guess that's what you call it there. And everyone, all the other kids, all the other boys in school had like cut short hair, and I was like, I want to be like them. I do not want to be like I am. And I remember being in school, sat in a playground by myself on a bench. I think I'd injured my foot or something and I couldn't play football. And I was just looking around and I was like, I saw the cool kid. He was like a couple of years ahead of me. This is like a 7-year-old version of me. He's like looking at this cool kid who's like, this sounds really weird, like hanging out with like the hot girl of the school. I don't know why I was thinking like that at 7. And I just remember thinking like, he is cool, he is attractive, he has lots of friends, and I am not. I'm sat here alone on a fucking bench with no friends to play with, and I just feel alone. And I think that was like a defining moment for me. But I just remember comparing myself to this kid and seeing all the ways in which I was like inadequate and less than and not enough. And wanting to be more, wanting to be different, wanting to be better. That's a better way of putting it. So yeah, my ways of dealing with stuff back then were like going into my imagination and sleeping. And that worked for a little while. And like my life wasn't terrible. Like I made friends and, you know, I got through school and I worked hard and I was like a clever kid. But I just had that different feeling, that alien feeling that I think we all have at some point. Yeah, so, okay, I'll carry on now. Let's move forward. Like, that's enough of the 7-year-old, actually. So, like, I go through school and, like, I'm noticing, you know, some of the behaviors that, like, addicts have. Like, some of them are coming out already. So, I wanted to be everyone's best friend. I wanted everyone not just to like me, to love me. And if my best friend was like getting friendly with someone else, I'd get really fucking jealous. And I'd get into fights a lot because of it. It was really bad. I wanted to be the most popular kid. And if you got in my way, I would fight you. And not because like, it wasn't like a conscious decision. I just got into lots of fights. And I ended up losing lots of friends because of it. So I'd make friends with people and then I'd get into a fight with them and then I'd lose them and I'd have to make friends with new people. And it was just that lack of stability, that chopping and changing, which is fucking horrible. Kind of my own fault there. I haven't said all this very well so far. Anyway, let's skip that part. And then that's kind of like what my school life was like. It was just like not feeling like I fitted in, making friends, losing friends, or then moving school and then having to make friends again. And always feeling like the outcast. And eventually, like, yeah, I didn't have trouble making friends. I had trouble keeping friends. Yeah. So by the time I sort of got to high school, let's go on to the good bit now, high school. I think in my head, I hadn't really kept in touch with anyone from junior school, that's what we call it here. And in my head, I thought, I'll go to high school and I'll finally be the most popular kid and everyone will love me because I'm like so freaking amazing, right? But I was just full of that, like, I'm not cool enough, I'm inadequate, I'm not good looking enough, I'm not this or that enough. And full of all that jealousy and stuff as well. And I did well at first. I got into like the popular crowd and I was living life for about 3 weeks until I got into a fight. And it all just went, like my high school experience went downhill from there. Like I became really, don't ever pick a fight with the popular kid in high school because it fucks up your rep. And I became very unpopular very quickly. And like life in high school just became fucking hell. Sorry, I'm going to swear a lot, just putting it out there. It just became hell. And I was lucky at the time, like I started playing ice hockey and I had like a couple of friends, like really close friends that I just bonded with straight away. And it was like my sport. So I'd have a shit time at school, but I had friends outside of it. And like something that I was good at as well. Like I was good for my age, kind of, compared to British kids anyway. And basically at home as well, things just weren't good. Like I was having trouble at high school and I couldn't really talk to my parents about it because when I tried to talk to my parents about it, they tried to intervene too much and embarrass the fuck out of me. Like they would go to the teachers and be like, Ish is like having trouble at school, and that's not a way to, no, that doesn't fix things. Not for me anyway. So I became quite isolated, and I isolated at school because I kind of got forced to, and I isolated at home. And so I don't know if any of like the around 30-year-olds will know, there was a thing called MSN Messenger back in the day. Maybe it didn't hit the US, maybe it did. And that was my thing, right? So I'm getting into my groove now. So what I'd do is I would like have no friends at school and I'd just I'd talk to one or two people and I'd come home and I didn't really get along with my family. Didn't get along with them. I just didn't communicate with them very well. So I'd go on MSN for hours, like literally until the night time and just talk to random people. I didn't even know what I was doing. And I guess it was like to fix my loneliness and to get my fix of like being needed and important to someone and being wanted. But yeah. So now is the even better part. Now the drugs come into my story. Okay, this is it. So like, I'm having a really tough time at school and I catch up with one of my ice hockey friends. It's like, Ish, do you want to come over and like for a sleepover? And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's hang out. And I'm just thinking it's going to be like a 14-year-old boy sleepover where you watch a film. I don't even know. I'd never been to one at this point, I don't think. Maybe I had. Not a proper one. And he pulls out some Jack Daniels and he pulls out some legal smokable high. And 14-year-old me is like, this is where I've landed. Like, this is fucking cool. And like a little bit before this, I'd been to a party, like a house party on my road, like a family house party. It wasn't like a house party. I'm going to just tell all my secrets now. I've had enough coffee and sugar. And there was this really pretty girl there. And I was like, she is hot. I'm still top-knot-ish at this point. And top-knot-ish is not the coolest. But, well, he was cute, but he wasn't like sexy. He was cute though. And I'm like looking at this girl and she is like the prettiest girl I've ever seen. And she is like, yeah, I'm into rock and roll, like Guns N' Roses and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to go home and start listening to rock and roll. So I went home and I started listening to Guns N' Roses, all in like an effort, probably to like impress this girl who was like older than me. There's no chance. And I remember listening to like rock. I remember listening to like Appetite for Destruction. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What is this shit? Like, this is just insane. Like the music, everything, it just got me, right? And I think in that moment, I became a little rocker. And I started listening to more rock and roll. And then So then that's when like the sleepover happens, maybe like a little while after. And it turns out that my friend is into like Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, shit, like we haven't like met up for like a year. This is cool. It was like God made it happen. And anyway, yeah, so the jack is there, the legal high is there, and I've never even smoked a cigarette by this point. And I remember just getting fucked. And we took out his mum's car. We were like 14, 15. We stole his mum's car. We took it for a ride around the block. He drove. I was like, this is it. Like, I am like a loser at school. I don't talk to anyone at home. And suddenly I am like a fucking rock star. Like, this is what I wanted. I felt like all those good feelings, part of cool, like I was hanging out with like a really cool guy. I felt just, yeah, I'd landed. And after that, after that, whenever I got a chance to hang out with this friend of mine, I would like steal bottles of alcohol from home and take them. And there are a couple of times where I got fucked and like I blacked out, and I'm like 15 now. And my parents had to come and pick me up, and they're like, Ish, you should not be doing this at your age. And I was like, I won't do it ever again, I promise. And the next time I went out, I just steal more. And at this point, we have like lots of miniatures at home. And I'd like steal them like 1 by 1 or 3 by 1 and just have them and just, yeah. My favorite thing, sorry, I'm going so off track here. It's like I've been talking for ages. But I'd like have the miniatures, go on MSN, talk to people a little bit drunk, maybe have a friend over and just think I was some sort of like Romeo, drunk Romeo, talking like poetry to girls when really it was just shit. And yeah, but that was it. Like I think I felt how alcohol made me feel confident and different and better. And I fucking loved feeling that way. And it gave me this like, I wouldn't call it like an arrogance, but the people who were bullying me at school after that, it just didn't have so much of an effect. Because I was like, have you smoked legal high and drank Jack Daniels? I don't fucking think so. So get out of my face. And at that point, I started smoking cigarettes as well. And I was like, none of you guys smoke cigarettes. You are not cooler than me anymore. Like, you have no hold over me. And I started really getting into rock. And I dyed my hair blonde to try and look like Axl Rose. And it came out ginger, so I looked like Axl Rose, kind of. And I used to wear like a little headband with my hair down. And it was just... and I'd go to school listening to like really loud music in my earphones, and like my anthem at the time was like Winger 17. She's only 17. I was like 16, 15. Just that was so cool. And there was more to that. That's not important. I think around that sort of time, the big thing, I'll tell you the big thing that happened, and then I'll start getting into some more drug stuff. I'm only 28, there's not much left for this. So like around, I forgot to say actually. So when I was 12, I sort of found, I'm going back in time now. I didn't realize I was 16. When I was 12, I found out that my dad wasn't my real dad. It was like a big fuck up thing. I don't know how it happened. And sort of my parents were together, and it was just horrible. I remember, yeah, it was like my 12th birthday as well. That's a bit fuckery, what a present. But I just said some English slang there, sorry, fuckery. And like, I'm trying to like remember it. I think my parents were together and there were like 4 kids, and my dad's quite like a loving, caring guy. And rather than say like, fuck you to my mum and leave, he was like, look, we'll stay together. And I think that's partly explains why when I got home, I was just going through a weird phase. I still don't actually. I'm quite like different to my siblings, and I'd isolate a lot when I got home. I think that was part of it. Just thought I'd drop it out there. So technically I'm mixed race Indian, just in case you didn't know and can't tell by the sound of my voice. That's for like the people listening on YouTube. Sorry. Anyway, sidetrack. back to when I was 16. So 14, 15, 16. So I'm going through this like rock phase. I'm loving like alcohol. I'm trying to get hold of legal high, but I can't because my friend's like just shit with it. And he keeps telling me about these stories where he's like seeing his mum Zopiclone and taking them and like feeling drunk. And I'm like, I want that. And around this time, some kid at school is like, Ish, I have some e-pills. Do you want to have one? And I'm like, fuck yes. I want any drugs, just give them to me. I've been like trying to search how to make drugs on Google that I could just make at home and have and get fucked on. And I wasn't having much luck with it. So the guy gives me my first ever e-pill, and I got home and I didn't go out or anything. I didn't like go and party. I was by myself at home with like my family around, and I took this pill and I just felt fucking incredible. Who wouldn't? Ecstasy is the best. Sorry guys, I shouldn't be saying this, but like that's how I felt at the time. And I remember jumping up in the air, feeling like it was taking me like 10 minutes to come down to earth. And then I started playing Guitar Hero and loving the sound it was making and the feel of the plastic guitar on my fingers. I was like, this is a dream. And I felt all loving and caring. And I was like, why would I not want to feel like this every day of my life? Every single day, like I want to feel like I'm on ecstasy. And it must have just like cut down those barriers that stopped me from being me, right? And that started a little phase. Whenever I could get ecstasy, I got it. Whenever I got it, I just did it at home with all my family around. I was not cool enough to do it with other people. And I think around this time, I tried smoking weed for the first time and vomited all over my bed, and tried it again shortly after. Vomited again. And I was like, I think I tried it shortly. I don't know, maybe it was dodgy weed. And I tried Coke, which is probably like sugar. I don't know what that was, but it didn't get me doing anything. I like experimented basically. That was like my teen years. Whatever this guy could get me, I'd buy it. And I'd steal money from somewhere at home. There's like a little bag full of tons of money. I was just stealing from there, buying cigarettes and buying drugs whenever I could, and really getting into rock and roll and starting to read like Nikki Sixx's Heroin Diaries and Slash's book and being like, these are my people and this is how I want to be. And yeah, I remember, oh fuck man, I'm taking ages. I remember going, I'm 16, I went on a holiday with just my mum and my two sisters. And I think we went to Spain, and you can get alcohol in Spain at like 16 quite easily. And I'd just go off by myself to these bars with whatever euros I had and just drink and then come back. And I was on like a family holiday and they're just like, Ish, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I'm a rock star. I'm doing what a rock star does on a holiday. Yeah. Anyway, let's get some good stuff. So around that time, I started talking to sort of my ex, my now ex, and my codependency kicked in, and I was happy for a little while because I had a girlfriend, and finally I felt validated and everything was good in my life because I'd met like this really pretty girl who was like way out of my league, and that meant all these good things about me, right? Like that I was like worth it. I was worthy. So the drugs sort of phased out a little bit, and we ended up going to the same college. I didn't want to tell you that part, no. We ended up going to the same college, and it was like my chance at a reset. I did the same thing I'd done in high school. Like, everyone is going to love me, and I'm going to be really popular, and I'm going to be like super cool. And I was still full of like insecurity and stuff, but I just didn't know. I didn't realize at the time. And when I got there, my only way that I knew how to deal with the nerves of communicating with like another human being was by drinking, right? So I thought, you know what, I'll just have a few drinks and I'll be okay. And a few drinks turned into like a few drinks every day for like a year. I was constantly like drinking, and I would interact with people and I thought they liked me, but I wasn't quite sure. And then when they did like me, I thought they liked the drunk version of me, not the real, this version of me. So the next time I saw them, I'd like drink again. Just, I don't know whether it was like confidence or whether I wanted people to like me or whether I became like a version of me that I liked when I was drinking. But like very quickly, I was drinking by myself in my room, watching shitty films on my laptop and just wishing that like I had some like solid friendships, because I didn't feel like I had any friends. And it was kind of like high school all over again. I just felt alone. And obviously like the way I dealt with that feeling aloneness was just by drinking more. So I failed all my exams, obviously. I think I went to one exam drunk. I think I knew I was going to fail it. I just went to the bar, had a few drinks, and then went, and I just couldn't write properly. It was a horrible experience. And yeah. So I resat the year and I was like, this year it's going to be different. And then I went to Amsterdam in the summer holiday before uni. And before this, any experience I'd had with smoking weed ended with me vomiting. So I didn't really do it. And I went to Amsterdam and I smoked weed and I didn't vomit. And I was like, I can do it. I can do it now. And I just replaced the alcohol with weed. And I almost failed my second year of college. And they were really nice to me. I sort of went to the doctors. I was like, look, I'm not mentally well. I got like a resit and I managed to pass somehow. I think I stopped smoking for like 3 weeks and I revised really well and I passed my exams. And then when I passed, I started smoking again. And now we can skip 4 years because that is it. Like for the next 4 years of university, I was just smoking like every day. And for like the last 3 years, I lived in places like flats by myself. And it was just free reign to do whatever I wanted. So I'd miss lectures, I'd smoke every day, I'd smoke throughout the day, I'd smoke before I went into college, I'd smoke when I got back. And I thought I was living my best life. And really, I was just in pain. Like I had no friends, or I didn't feel like I had any friends. I felt alone. And like the only person I knew was like my girlfriend at the time. And this is when like I didn't shower for like days at a time. My hygiene started to go fucked, and I never had any money because I was spending it all on drugs. And somehow I managed to pass. Like somehow I got like past my degree. I think it was because my dissertation was on like the use of cannabinoids in some like inflammatory disease, and I knew all about cannabinoids at this point, so I like managed to pass that. And then now the really exciting part. So I qualified as like, well, I did my degree in pharmacy, right? So once I passed my degree, it was like pharmacy pre-registration year. And I was really lucky. Someone hired me. Don't know why. My interview went really well. And I started working in like a town near Birmingham. And I'd been getting drugs in Birmingham by this point, and I called my dealer and he's like, no, Ish, I'm not going to come all this way for like just weed. But if you get some coke, I'll come to you. And I was like, yeah, man, just come, bring the coke. And it was really good coke. And I was like hooked straight away. And literally from that day, it was like everyday coke. And weed wasn't so much my thing anymore. It was just like, weed just makes me feel tired and shitty, and I'm never doing anything with my girlfriend. Whereas like, coke made me feel good, and it kept me awake. It kept me too awake. Yeah. You know, because I never dealt with any of those insecurities and all those things. Like, I think part of being alone for so long and spending so much time by myself and not feeling like I had any friends was that I'd made a decision, and it was like, what is wrong with me? Why don't people like me? And I was just full of that, like in here. And I didn't want to talk to other people. I didn't want to put myself out there because I was fucking scared of rejection, right? I didn't think people liked me. So I kept myself to myself, I guess, to protect my own feelings, right? Except I think I'm a sociable person, like deep down, and being alone is painful. Yeah. So I'm working as like a pre-registration pharmacist, and my boss is like on my case all the time, and I'm hating it, and I'm not sleeping very well at this point because I'm doing so much coke. And one day, like a patient returns some of that Oromorph, the morphine liquid, and I'm in the back room alone with all like the disposed medicines, like putting it in the box, and I'm like, I wonder how I'll feel if I have a sip of this. And it felt so fucking good. Sorry, I should have put a trigger warning at the start. I sometimes go back into it, like it's that warm blanket that we talk about, right? Sometimes, and all my worries and feelings were just like gone. And suddenly I was able to function. And my boss was like in my ear, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like I am working fine, and my sort of mental functions weren't too impaired. And I was like, this is wicked. And slowly, like a sip, which made me like vomit at first, turned into like a few sips. And then a few sips turned into like a little bottle. And then a little bottle turned into like a big bottle. And man, it just got crazy. Like I remember the exam to become a pharmacist. In the break, I was doing lines of coke in the toilet. Like that's how bad it got. And I passed the exam somehow. And I became like a pharmacist. And I was suddenly working in a store where I was in control of like stock and what comes in and what goes out. And no one could stop me from taking what I was taking. I basically just had like access, and I was stealing money from the shops that I worked at, stealing morphine, stealing benzos, buying coke, and things got real bad real quick. I'm going to tell you some things that like I don't really want to tell you guys, but it will give you an idea of like where my using takes me. So like I went to a Guns N' Roses concert, funnily enough, in London with my girlfriend at the time, and we'd been together for like 9 years, from like 14, 15 to like 24. And we were staying overnight. We were doing like a gig on the Saturday, a gig on the Sunday. And overnight on the Saturday, I'd taken off my jeans with my coat still inside, and she'd found it. And I woke up in the morning, and my first thought was obviously like, where are my drugs? And I looked across, and she was like sat on the other side of the room, and I was like looking in my pockets, and she knew what I was looking for. And she had found it during the middle of the night. And oh man, yeah, I was not a nice person. Like I think I don't even want to say it out loud, but I think I grabbed her, and I was like, sort of like, give me the fucking coke. At that point, I was like an animal, proper dickhead really. And all I could think about was the fact that I couldn't go to this Sunday gig without some drugs in me. Yeah, we broke up like really shortly after. She broke up kind of on that day, and then she went back to the flat that we lived in, and she found like all my hidden bottles of morphine that I'd drank and just left in my room, and some diamorphine ampules that I'd stolen and snorted from the pharmacy. And I think that really scared her. She was like, Isha's doing heroin. And I was like, no, I'm not injecting it. I'm just snorting the powder that's on the inside. Like, that's okay. Yeah, we broke up, and I moved back home, and my using got really fucking bad. Yeah, I was like locking myself up in the pharmacy after work for like 2 or 3 hours, just doing drugs. Yeah, you know what? Like, I sometimes hear people in Dopey talk about how their using was really like kind of with other people, and they did crazy things. My using was never like that. It was always alone from the get-go, like always. And it was always kind of like trying to numb me from feeling how I was feeling about myself and about how my life had turned out. And I'm going to sort of go back a bit. Around like the age of 18, I got into like Reiki. My mum was really big into Reiki and like the law of attraction. And I'd watched the Secret film. And I read this book called like Conversations with God. And it's like all kind of like the law of attraction and what you can attract into your life and how the universe works. And I was like, that is not my fucking experience. Like, those books are fucking lying to me. How can the law of attraction exist and this is how shit my life is? Yeah. And what was I going to say? Yeah. So I'm back home, I'm using really bad, and I'm spending all like any money that I earn. Like, I am in tons of debt from university because I just didn't pay any of it off. And fuck, this was in a meeting the other day. I heard you guys talking about it. And like, I'm living at home. My relationship with my ex broke down. My relationship with my family was breaking down. My relationship with my workers, like my co-workers, was breaking down. And I just like, I couldn't stop using. And I'd be working in the pharmacy, like the responsible pharmacist, like I have to be on site all the time. And I'd go off site for like 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time to either pick up, or I'd turn in late because I'd gone to pick up at lunch, or I'd go into the bathroom like every 20 minutes and I'd come out and there's a queue there. And I'm like, why the fuck are people waiting for me? I'm just trying to do some coke, man. Like, can they not just leave me alone? And I'd be like nodding off at work while signing prescriptions. So I'd tick them and put them in a bag and just hope for the best. And the thought that I could kill someone, the thought that I could like not take care of someone properly, the thought that I could make an error that could have really disastrous consequences was just not there because I was like obsessed, right? So yeah, I'll like skip near the end now. Well, yeah, things got really bad and I wasn't sleeping very well and I wasn't living very well. And yeah, things at home weren't very good. And I thought maybe, so at this point, the staff that I worked with sort of clocked on to the fact that I was stealing stuff. And they were like, Ish, you've got to stop. What we're going to do is we're not going to let you order in any morphine liquid. And I was like, that's cool, man. I'm not doing anything. Like, nothing's going to happen anyway. And of course, like, it was mad. You know, any morning that I didn't drink at least like a few sips, I'd be like rattling hard, and driving to work felt like the worst and most painful thing in the world. And I didn't realize what was going on because I'd never rattled before. But whenever I drank more morphine, I felt better. And one day I was like, I know what I need. I just need something. Just need something. And I ordered in a bottle of morphine, and this whole hoo-ha happened where they went to return it and I stole it from the returns. And then I told the delivery driver just to pretend that he'd taken it. And he was like, no, Ish, I can't do that. I'll lose my job. And I was like, look, just do it. Don't worry about it. I'll sort it out. And he was like, no, Ish. And I was like, do it. And he sort of went out the pharmacy and the staff were like, did you take the return? And he was just not answering them. It was this fucking thing. It was ridiculous. And I'd obviously taken it, obviously. But to pretend like it, I went out at lunch and I cracked the bottle and I put it back in its box and I hid it in the bin. And I was like, look, it had just fallen in the bin and the bottle had broken. Like, that's what had happened. You guys are like blaming me on it, blaming me. And they knew I'd taken it. And at that point, I was like, I've got to get out of here. So I had holidays planned and I was just like, look, I'll come back after the holidays and we'll talk about it then. And I went to Sri Lanka for 3 weeks with my dad and my brother. And the whole idea was basically to to get clean, because I was convinced that I could stop at any time. All I needed was just a break from my busy job and schedule, and I'd be okay. I was so fucking wrong. It's like, oh man, I've never experienced anything like it. Like, think about a week before I'd stopped drinking any morphine, and yeah, man, I was jonesing hard. And on the way on the plane, has anyone ever tried to get on a flight when you're like coming off like opiates? It's the most pain. Like my body is in pain. I'm like snotting everywhere. I'm like, fuck. And the only thing that was like providing temporary relief is like alcohol, a lot of it. And it would wear off within like an hour and I'd be feeling the same shit again. And I'm like, just want more. And we got to Sri Lanka and I could no longer drink because there just wasn't any available. And I didn't have any money. And some guy, I don't know how it happened. Maybe you attract these things as an addict. But some guy offered me actual heroin, which I'd never had before. And I was like, of course I want to do that. Like, that's what I'm looking for. It turns out it was really expensive there. So I tried it. I loved it for like a day. And then I was just back in the same place I was before, like coming off shit, feeling like shit. And I think the 3 weeks I was out there, I didn't get any days like clean. I think I just started smoking weed from this guy that was like living down the road from where I was. And I came back. I'm going to skip through some stuff now because this is where it gets like horrible. Like I came back and I picked up coke straight away again. Like I think I called my dealer at the airport. I was like, meet me at home in like 20 minutes. And he was like, cool. And at this point, I guess I'm starting to realize that like I have a problem, but I'm just not willing to do anything about it. And I think shit really hit the fan. So I'm living at home at this point, and my mum took my phone off me. I owed the dealer like $5,000 worth of money. I'd been like, we call it on tick here. I don't know what you call it there. I owed him $5,000. And I'd been asking my dad for lots of money, and he would always give it to me. And at this point, like, my mum took my phone off me. I couldn't contact the dealer. And they came like knocking on my door. And like, it was my sister's wedding in like a few days' time, right? And in Indian families, you do this big whole week-long hoo-ha before the actual day. And it was just fucked. Like, I'd never felt so alone and isolated and alien in my life, because the people who I always thought were meant to love me, like in air quotes, suddenly started showing like, not disdain for me, but that they'd had enough. And I was like, shit, like, I always thought my family would love me no matter what. And finally, like, the cracks were starting to show, and they were like, dude, this is too much. And I was getting into fights with every one of them because, yeah, like I did some really like horrible, embarrassing things. Like, in order to try and get my phone back to get more drugs, I like not pretended. Like I got a knife from the kitchen cupboard drawer, like put it to my wrist, and like, if you do not give me my phone back, I will cut my wrist. And I like had all intention to do it as well. Like I was just mad. I wasn't in the right state of mind. That version of me, I never want to go back to that. You know, that desperation, and like I just want this no matter what. Yeah. Yeah. So I naturally just picked up whatever I could at the time, alcohol, and I was drinking vodka, and I wasn't there, I wasn't present. It's my sister's wedding, and as a brother, like I'm supposed to have a big supporting role, and I just wasn't. And my relationships with my family, who are like the only people left in my life at that point, basically just broke down. And within a week or two, I was at the back of my garden crying out to God, just like kill me. Because I couldn't do it myself. I was like, I didn't have the guts to do it myself. I just wanted to die. I wanted to be out of the pain that I was in. Because I couldn't stop using, but I couldn't carry on using. Yeah. Oh, that was a horrible point. That'd be what I would call my rock bottom. And I wish I could transport you into my body at that time, because they were not nice things to feel. That was not a nice place to be in. Yeah. So my sister's wedding happens and I get fucked, obviously. At the wedding I got fucked. I did some embarrassing things, like I almost fell on a baby in a pram. I was hitting on like I looked rough at this one. I hadn't showered for like a week and I had a week-long beard and my hair was greasy and I was hitting on the caterers or something. I was out of it. My friends had to like look after me at this wedding. And the day after, my family sort of gave me this ultimatum. It's like, look, you either get sectioned or you go to a treatment center. And I was like, obviously I want to go to a treatment center. And I was imagining like from the OC in like the program, like one of the characters goes to this really fancy treatment place. And I was like, that's what I was imagining in my head, like oceanfront, like waves and beach and like, you know, glass walls surrounding the place. And and that is not where I landed. I landed at like this basically like a house down the road from where I live. It was a treatment center. It was like 7 bedrooms. And I was like, what the fuck is this place? But I just remember being so like broken and just couldn't carry on anymore, that I was just willing, you know, I just didn't care. And I went in, and this is where the good part happens, by the way. I met other addicts for like the first time in my life. And they were really similar to me, and they were really loving, and they were really caring. And they gave me a hug, and they told me how everything worked. And they listened to me, and they didn't want anything from me. And I could identify with them. And they accepted me for who I was at the time. And that's what I'd ever wanted, man. I wanted to be able to be me without any of the masks, without any of the drugs, without any of the alcohol, without any of that, without anything else, just me. And I remember doing my life story with them and telling them all of my secrets. And they didn't run away, and they didn't like shun me. They weren't like, Ish, you're a dick. They were just like, Ish, thanks. And they said really nice things to me. And I remember being so full. Like, this is when I got to grips with like the feelings that made me use were those fear, the sadness, the anger, anything uncomfortable. Any uncomfortable feeling would make me use. Not make me use, but I would use as a result of feeling those things. And I realized that all those feelings were sort of sponsored by all my negative or limiting beliefs about myself. And I spoke about all those insecurities and beliefs with the people that were with me. And they were just like, Ish, sort it out, mate. You're like a nice person. Like, we love you for who you are. And I was like, what? Are you sure? And they're like, yeah. And that was the first time oh man, this is quite hard to say. That's the first time in like a long time that I related to people, that I identified, that I don't know, man, like it kind of sounds like cliche and lame, but like I felt loved. And I knew my family had loved me all the time, but I just didn't feel like they understood me. And I felt like these people got me. Yeah. And so I do like 12-step recovery. And what I got in this treatment center from these people is what I got from the people in my 12-step recovery program. And what I get from the people in 12-step and what I got from these people in my treatment center is obviously what I get from you guys, right? Let's talk a bit about how amazing Dopey is. So I'll be quick now because I've been going on for ages. And my story, I don't tell stories very well. That is my internal terrorist, by the way. He comes up a lot. So one day I'm chatting to Annie. She's wearing a Dopey t-shirt. Oh, I got her permission to say her name. She was cool with it. She's wearing a Dopey hat, not a Dopey t-shirt. And I'm like, what the fuck is Dopey? And she's like, it's a podcast. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just sort of ignored it. I didn't get what she was on about. Like, I didn't know what podcasts were at this point. I didn't know they existed. I didn't know they were a thing. And then a few months later, we're at a meal and she's wearing the hat. And I'm like, Annie, what's Dopey? And she's like, it's a podcast and it's a Facebook group. And I'm like, what? And then she added me to the Facebook group. This is before Dopey Zoom. And I was like watching you guys like talk. I didn't know any of you at this point. I'd sort of get the occasional notification. And I was like, cool, these guys are like all addicts and they share stuff, that's cool. But because I wasn't like going on the page that much, I didn't get many notifications. And then Dopey Zoom started, and then Annie and Liz were like, do you want to come to a meeting that you host? And I was like, fuck yeah. And then I met all of you guys, well, a lot of you guys. And I loved how it was different from my 12-step recovery groups in the sense that you talk and other people talk back and other people just, they all show you love. Like in a lot of groups I go to, they don't talk in the chat. Whereas we always talk in the fucking chat. It wouldn't be the same without the chat. Like the chat is where things go down. And I was welcomed and I was really nervous at first because you were all really far away and you were strangers at the time. And I was like, I only know Annie and Liz, and you're all really loving and welcoming. And for ages, I just went to that birds meeting on a Sunday, right? Because it was my safe place. And I knew that other meetings happened throughout the week. And I was like, cool, but I'm scared to go by myself. Oh, that's so bad. I'm like a 28-year-old. I'm like scared to go by myself. I think that's really weird. But and then, so I'll get this is the good part. Then the marathons at Christmas and New Year's happened, and I saw more of you, and I saw a lot of you. I was like on it a lot more than I am normally. And something changed. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I just felt more comfortable. And after the marathon, I made an effort to like come to more Dopey Zooms. And this is where the magic has really happened for me. Like I'm seeing a lot of you guys like every day. And I've heard some of the conversations we have, and I've had like little conversations with some of you every now and again, and some really late night, like up until 3 a.m. my time conversation with some of you guys. And I fucking love yous. You're all like freaking amazing. And how can I put this? I've heard some of you guys share about your own insecurities and how you feel about yourself and stuff. And I find it reassuring to know that if there are people out in the world that I think are so freaking amazing and they can feel insecure or have low self-worth or have low self-confidence or self-esteem, then maybe me with all my insecurities and low self-everythings, I might also be awesome too. Or other people might think I'm awesome. Or other people might think I'm okay. Or maybe people just don't think I'm a dick, you know, as much of a dick as I do anyway, sometimes. And occasionally, so now I'm just going to free spit. I don't know what the word is. I always get it wrong. But occasionally I can go back into that 7-year-old version of me, or that 12-year-old, or that little kid inside of me. And it's just like, I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to love me. I want to be everyone's best friend. I want to be the most important and the most wanted and the most needed and the most everything. Basically, sometimes I want to be God, sometimes. And I can go into that sort of place where I will do anything to get that love from other people, right? That insecure place where it's like people pleasing meets just wanting to be loved. And the thing I love about Dopey Zoom, which is probably why I come here every day at the moment, is the thing I really love is that I don't feel like I have to do anything to get any of that. Like I can just be me. I've started, and the more I speak to you guys, the more I feel comfortable being me. It's like this beautiful cycle of like, it's just this beautiful cycle of like, the more I'm myself around you guys and the more you show me love, or the more you guys don't run away from me, the more I feel comfortable being myself. And it's, I don't know, I've lost my train of thought. Remember, guys, it is like 3 o'clock here. The most important fucking thing. Sorry, not the most important, but one of the most important things. So, almost 3 years ago, I basically left my pharmacy career with my tail between my legs, like scared and not wanting to go back to that company because they'd found out, that I was stealing drugs. Today, I did my first shift as an actual fucking pharmacist in 3 years, man. So I have been awake since 5 a.m. yesterday. I did my shift. It went down. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't hurt anyone. The morphine wasn't talking to me in a sexy voice saying, drink me, you will feel better. In fact, I didn't even really notice it. And I got through the day, and then I went to see Annie, and I hung out with her, and I got back, and this is what recovery has given me. Like, beautiful friends, a career, family, some sort of semblance of inner peace sometimes, unless my mind is going fucking crazy. And I may not feel great about myself all the time, but I feel better about myself more of the time than I used to. I don't want to die today. Like, I actually feel like I want to live, and things can always get better, right? I've got a bit of hope. Anyway, so basically, guys, that was like the worst version of my Speakertape ever. I'm still recording, I know. But I'm gonna have to cover my face when I say this because I'm getting embarrassed. Like, I think you're all really amazing. I think I can actually say that my life wouldn't, don't cry. I can actually say that my life wouldn't be the same without you guys. And I love you all, obviously. And you know what, like, I've been in some like low places over the past couple of months, and I'm actually might cry. I don't know. This is what coffee and sugar does to me. This is why I don't do this. There have been some times where just being in Zoom with you guys has made me feel like a million times better, or I've shared something that's been on my mind with someone and I felt better, or yeah, you guys just bring brightness to my day sometimes, all the time. And I know that I have a safe place where I can go and I can talk shit to you guys for like an hour and you'll pretend to like me because that's just how we work here. Anyway, thank you, Jess. Thank you, everyone. And I am going to like hide my face now so I can cry and smell my baby and stuff. Thanks for listening. Toodles.
I wanna take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desires all I ever had. And I wanna take a ride up in the sky and watch watch as aeroplanes just pass me by. And I wanna see a Learjet liner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desires all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller.